Is Riley Reid a desirable girlfriend? Is she a high-quality woman who you'd want to be in a relationship with? That's what we're going to answer in today's video. I got fascinated with this question of whether or not Riley Reid was a high-quality woman when I was watching this video, this podcast. I'll put a link in the description box below, with Riley Reid as one of the guests. And one of the interviewers, I don't know his name, was really enamored by her. He was hitting on her, saying how beautiful she was, how much he wanted to take her out. And it was like, wow, watching him, you realized that in his mind, she was a really high quality woman who he would be really lucky to be in a relationship with. And this was a little bit strange to see because, you know, she's an adult film star. To a lot of people, that wouldn't be a desirable person to be in a relationship with. And so I got interested in exploring this topic. In case there's anybody who doesn't know who Riley Reid is, she's an adult film actress. She's #1 on Pornhub, has won Female Performer of the Year. She's like a big star, top of the porn industry. In this video, we're going to go through all of her qualities one by one and discuss whether or not these qualities are desirable or not. But first, I want to explore this idea of what makes somebody desirable. When we're discussing what qualities makes a man more desirable, that seems a little bit more clear, almost as if there's a little bit more universality towards what makes a man attractive. We know that he should be tall, wealthy, handsome, confident. Basically, every woman on the earth is going to find these qualities attractive. However, it gets a lot more difficult and nuanced when we ask men what qualities in a woman they find attractive. It differs, and there's a huge spectrum. Basically, the only universal truth that I can imagine applies to all men is that their ideal woman is gorgeous, that she's beautiful. Okay, so we know that men like pretty girls. Men want their partners to be attractive and desirable. But beyond that, what kind of qualities can a woman show that makes her desirable to a man? Personally, I can say that one of the top qualities I look for in a woman is kindness. If she's kind, then that's extremely attractive to me. Even if she's a little bit shy or geeky or socially awkward, that really doesn't bother me so much. If she's fundamentally kind, then that's awesome. For another guy, that might not really matter to him. It doesn't really bother him whether or not she's kind. What he's looking for is somebody who's socially outgoing, who's extroverted and confident. And even if she's a bit of a bitch, doesn't really matter. At least she's outgoing. You can see here that beyond the universal preference for a girl who's pretty, it can be quite difficult for men to really agree on what a high quality woman is, what kind of qualities a man really finds desirable. I'll give you another example. I personally value intelligence, and I like women who are independent and assertive. However, another man might not value intelligence at all. What he's looking for is not somebody who's independent, but somebody who's devoted to him, someone who's very feminine and submissive. And if that comes at the expense of a little bit of intelligence, no bother to him. So we can see that what is considered desirable changes from man to man, but it's also going to change based on what you're looking for in a relationship. If you're looking for a short-term relationship, something that possibly only lasts one night, then it really doesn't matter to you whether or not she's kind or intelligent. What you're really looking for is someone who's young and beautiful, and ideally not crazy and going to create some drama in your life. But if you're looking for something more long-term, then suddenly other qualities become extremely important. So all of this brings us to the point of the video. Is Riley Reid a desirable partner? Well, as you can tell, the answer to that question is going to be up to you. It's going to be based on what qualities you find desirable. So let's go through them. Okay, let's start with the most obvious. She's attractive. Now, there's going to be some people who are going to want to nitpick various aspects of her looks, but objectively speaking, most people find her extremely pleasant to look at. You don't rise to the top of the porn industry by being ugly. She's 28 years old. Now, if you're a young guy, you're like 18 years old, that might seem quite old to you. But imagine if you're 60 years old, that's going to seem quite young. So whether or not her age is a plus or a minus, that's going to be up to you. Now, this one gets quite interesting. She's famous. Most people know who Riley Reid is. You can imagine that, you know, living in LA and working in the business that she does, she probably knows lots of celebrities. She probably gets invited to really cool events. You know, she's generally famous. If you're her partner, she's going to get recognized out on the street. Now, to some people, this is going to be a huge plus. Maybe you're someone who seeks fame yourself. You like that kind of lifestyle. Being with Riley Reid, this famous adult film star, fantastic. To other people, fame is a big red flag. They don't want anything to do with that kind of scrutiny and attention. If it matters to you whether or not the woman that you're with is wealthy, then it might interest you to know that Riley Reid is extremely well off. She's worth about $2 million and makes around $250,000 per year. So if you like the finer things in life, you like traveling, going to fancy restaurants, living in big mansions, that sort of thing, then this is the kind of lifestyle that you might be able to enjoy if you're in a relationship with Riley Reid. Even if you're independently wealthy, you make your own money, and it doesn't really matter to you whether or not your partner makes money because you've kind of got yourself sorted with regards to your own finances. Just knowing the fact that she's not going to be in debt or saddling you with some kind of crazy loans that she has to pay back, well, that's definitely a plus. Now, this next one's a little bit more sensitive to speak about, but if considering somebody as a long-term partner, I think it's definitely important to keep this in mind and to consider it, because Riley Reid is not on good terms with her family. In the podcast episode that I listened to, she spoke quite openly about her relationship with her family, and I found the stories quite sad. She spoke about how her sister would text her and call her just so that she could prove to her friends that she knew Riley Reid and that that was really her sister. I think that her mum, I think that her mum is a webcam girl and wanted to tell the fans that she was Riley Reid's mother, sort of using her daughter's, celebrity status to boost her own viewership numbers. And both of these kind of acts made Riley Reid extremely uncomfortable, and she's ultimately not really speaking to her family because of it. Now, there's really a couple of different ways that you can take this depending on your perspective. You can be on the side of, go Riley Reid, you state your boundaries, you stand up for yourself, and you remove those toxic people from your life, get the family out of there and only have people who value you and support you in your life. That's definitely one perspective, and there's some validity to that, but you might also be from the perspective that says, wow, this family sounds really dysfunctional. Her mother's a webcam girl. For someone who I imagine's quite old now, that's a very interesting career choice, and she doesn't speak to them. There's clearly lots of drama there. Generally, a dysfunctional family creates a dysfunctional person. That's a red flag. I don't want any part of that. Which one of these two perspectives you're going to take? Well, that's going to be up to you. Now, another point to consider is how much marijuana Riley Reid consumes. Now, I'm not here to shame anybody who smokes weed. I'm pro-legalization. But in one of the episodes of Dear Riley, the show she does on her YouTube channel, she mentions that she smokes basically from the time she gets up in the morning to the time she goes to sleep. The only time she's not stoned is when she's shooting, and even then, that's not a golden rule. Sometimes she'll break that. Now, you could be from the perspective of, great, weed's fantastic, sounds like she's having a good time, and that's one perspective. Or you could be a bit more in line with my thinking, which says, wow, that's a lot of consumption of this particular drug. That's potentially a red flag. Are you running from something? Are you trying to distract yourself? Is there something wrong with your ordinary state of consciousness that you're not coping with? Now, whatever your opinion on the marijuana usage is, it's important to note that Riley Reid is extremely conscious of her health and fitness. And so if you value somebody who takes care of themselves and knows a lot about nutrition and health food, then in that sense, Riley Reid would be an extremely attractive choice for a partner. This next one is potentially going to be the most divisive, because this is either going to be a huge plus for people or a huge negative, depending on your perspective. But I would say that Riley Reid is basically shameless. What she does for a living is get naked and have sex with a whole bunch of different people, often crazy, wild, uninhibited sex on camera for the consumption of millions of people. That's pretty out there. If you're someone who is dealing with a whole bunch of shame, I don't think you'd be able to do that work. Now, one perspective that you can take is, wow, this is fantastic. Our culture has far too many hang-ups about sexuality. Everybody's carrying way too much shame. But here's this girl who's empowered and confident in her sexuality. She's owning it, and she's making a living doing what she loves. This is awesome. I also want to be completely removed of any of my shame to do with sexuality. Being with a partner like that would help that. Fantastic. Or perhaps you're not that socially liberal and you're a little bit more conservative, and you come from the perspective of, well, actually, I think sex is something sacred and special and should really be kept private between two people. I don't think that it's just a social construct, and really the fact that you're taking off your clothes and getting naked and having sex for the amusement and entertainment of millions of people, that's a little bit weird. That makes me uncomfortable. I actually think that you should be a bit ashamed about that. Regardless of which side you fall on this whole shame issue, it's undeniable that Riley Reid would not be a judgmental person. If you've got crazy out there kinks and fetishes, I can almost guarantee that she's going to listen to you and support you if she's your partner. If you value someone being socially liberal, very open about sexuality, not judging you, those are highly desirable qualities in a partner, then Riley Reid might be the girl for you. I don't know this for a fact, but you can basically guarantee she also has a high sex drive. If you're someone who also has a high sex drive and you want to do it multiple times a day, then I'm sure that she'd make a great partner. But there's also the danger of, well, actually I just have a regular sex drive, and so someone like Riley Reid, that might overwhelm me, or I'm concerned that I'm not personally able to meet all of her sexual needs, and she's going to be a lot more likely to stray and seek out other partners. I think I recall hearing in one of the interviews Riley Reid saying she's polyamorous. And again, depending on your perspective, this is either a good or a bad thing. If your partner's polyamorous, then basically this means that you can also be polyamorous. So if you're somebody who craves sexual variety and sexual novelty, then great, be in a relationship with Riley Reid and you can explore that with a whole number of other women. The downside, of course, is that if you're more monogamous and you're inclined towards monogamy, then she's going to be really testing your limits because she's going to want to be with a whole bunch of different partners. Her work actually necessitates it. And if you're a jealous person, that's going to be extremely difficult to deal with. This is probably the biggest downside that people would point to when considering whether or not to be in a relationship with Riley Reid. The fact that her work is basically to have sex with other guys. If you're an extremely jealous person, that's going to be a non-negotiable point for you. Some guys might think that it's cool that she's wealthy, she's independent, she's sort of famous and all this fantastic stuff. And they might try really hard to be supportive of the fact that she does pornography for a living. But I would imagine that for a lot of guys, deep down, they would probably wish that she was just a model or something else. Some other way where she could live the same lifestyle, make the same money, but not have sex with a bunch of different guys every single week. But it's that dichotomy which makes her so interesting to consider. Is she the ultimate fantasy girl, perfect in every single way, highly desirable as a partner? Some men would say yes. Other people would say no, absolutely not. She's the lowest possible choice. I could never be with somebody who takes off their clothes for a living and is engaging in sex work. Definitely not. I'm sure for everybody who's watched this video and gone through this list of qualities, they're probably ticking off in their mind, yes, that part I really like. That is a highly desirable quality. And probably other parts like, wow, that one, absolutely not. That's an extremely undesirable quality. So the question of whether or not Riley Reid herself is a desirable woman to be in a relationship with, is she a high quality woman? It's really a red herring because the answer can only come from you. The answer has to be subjective. It depends on what you find desirable. My hope is that by watching this video and considering this question of whether or not Riley Reid would make a good girlfriend for you or not, you've gained some extra clarity on what it is that you do find desirable. Please leave a comment below letting us know whether or not you think Riley Reid would make a good girlfriend for you or not. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and if you haven't already done so, make sure to subscribe to the channel. If you appreciate this video, you like the work that I do, you want to support the creator, please consider making a pledge on Patreon. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you again next time.